Well, we're here with Doug Niemela of Save the Boundary Waters, and we just kind of want to find out more about what you've been up to here.
Great.
And but let's start. Let's just start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So just give us like your quick description of Save the Boundary Waters and what you guys are up to.
Yeah, so Save the Boundary Waters is a nonprofit organization. We're actually headquartered in Ely, Minnesota, but the majority of our staff is here in the Twin Cities. It was founded in 1996 as a nonprofit. We hired the first staff, which actually was myself, in 2014 when I came to Coco. At the beginning, just me by my lonesome to work on the sulfide ore copper mining near the Boundary Waters. So this is a national issue that we worked with the past administration on, and we're working with the current administration now to protect the Boundary Waters wilderness area from the threat of sulfide ore copper mining, which is the most toxic industry in America, according to the EPA, and it's also right next to America's most visited wilderness. So, as you can see, those are two things that we are not, we don't want to be mixing together.
Yeah.
So we're very focused on that issue, but also with the protection and promotion of the wilderness area and the benefits people gain from just running around and playing outside and doing fun stuff like that.
So you have it sounds like you have a laser focus on that issue.
Yeah.
But you also are able to talk about the larger question of like, how can we enjoy this? How can we, protect it in maybe broader ways?
Absolutely. So part of our philosophy and why I feel like we've been pretty successful is around the idea we are a very positive campaign. We are not anti-mining. We are pro-boundary waters. So whenever we go into situations, be it, at the state fair or out in the community, our videos and things like that, we always start with pro-boundary waters messages and bring people into a conversation around experiences they've had in the boundary waters. And one of the crazy things we just found out from some of our polling is that 67% of Minnesotans have actually been to the boundary waters in their life.
That's a big percentage.
That is a huge percentage. Yeah. And then also 1/5 of Minnesotans go every year. So it's an amazing amount of people. So when people talk about this is something they can relate to.
Yeah.
It's a tangible thing. So when we bring them in, and we can just talk to pretty much any random person on the street in Minnesota, and they have an idea of what that is and why it's important.
Yeah.
And then we talk about the threat after the fact. It's something we picked up from some climate change work and studies people have been doing around psychology of moving and movements around these kind of environmental and conservation issues.
So how you get it sounds like the clever bit is that you're sophisticated about how you engage people on what could otherwise be very controversial questions, but you kind of like you bring them in experientially first, so then there's like an ability for them to actually either change their mind or to think about.
Yeah, it's really kind of setting up a frame on how we talk about these controversial issues. And, if I was to approach somebody on the street and say, hey, have you heard about this mining thing going on up north? That's going to start a conversation one way. If I start that conversation and say, hey, what do you know about the Boundary Waters? Have you ever been? And they're like, oh, yeah, even if I don't go, like my brother-in-law goes every year and he's been talking about it and he loves it. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's great and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, and by the way, there's this mining threat. Yeah, that's going to happen right in the watershed, not in the Boundary Waters itself, but right next to the Boundary Waters. And then they're like, oh, tell me more, and it starts out, it just really makes it a more of a dialogue with a person instead of a very like telling somebody what's their, where they should be and what the answer is.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's really, it's actually like good sales, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you think about like people who are able to draw you into a sales conversation and you don't realize till halfway through, you go, wait a second.
Right.
I think you're about to sell me on something.
Exactly. And that, part of the other philosophy too is when we built out the team here, I didn't go and look for people that have a ton of experience in nonprofit world and political campaigns, because that's my background. Yeah. That's what I know how to do.
So what did you look for then?
I went to Target, I went to the big corporations and 3M and General Mills and found their marketing team and their folks that are working on all these other kind of ideas and social media and stuff like that, and really wanted to find the people that think differently than I do.
That's really
to bring their perspective to it and really allow the branding and everything like that and the creativity to happen. And so
that's great. Well, okay, so let's talk about that. Because actually, if you came here by yourself first, and now you have a staff of how many here?
Well, we have an official staff of 10 people here in this office,
Yeah.
and then we've got 2 people up north, one in Ely and one in Duluth. Then we also have about 6 interns that are here right now. So in our office space here of 14, we've got a couple extra memberships that we've tacked on top of it to make sure we've got the right folks to bring in.
Yeah.
And everything. So.
But that's interesting. So I mean that would suggest that you've been successful at getting the support that you need to be able to run that kind of operation. And this is a time when you hear nonprofits talking about, like support's drying up and it's
right.
and we need more sustainable models. So what have you done? What's been the secret to having more, getting more support for this?
Well, I think for us, because it's all individual donations. We're not doing any sort of, a lot of nonprofits get funding from the government to do service projects and things like that. Mm-hmm. We are 100% founded by individual donors, and also we get some money from like some corporations. Patagonia gives us grants every once in a while, things like that. But for us, it's really all about how we talk about the issue, the importance of it, and for us, when you are succeeding, it's working. And the other thing that's coming into play now with the new administration is we're not backing down from trying to get wins. A lot of nonprofits right now are just really trying to hold the line, especially in the conservation industry and world and across the entire country. Now are really looking at wins that they got from the Obama team and just trying to make sure that they stick. Mm-hmm. Where we are still forward-looking enough, the way we built our campaign, to be inclusive of all people. And really we've got a lot of Trump supporters and a lot of what we call right of center organizations, sporting groups, veterans groups, small business, coalitions that are really supportive of what we're doing and understand the importance of having, this world-class wilderness, within 4 hours drive of where we're sitting right now.
Yeah.
And being able to, right now, if you and I wanted to go hop in a canoe, we could do it before the sun goes down tonight.
That's crazy.
And be away from everything, So
again, that's kind of back to the way you approach this. That you can be allies. You can be allied with groups that maybe in other circumstances, a group that's doing some kind of conservation or environmental work wouldn't be able to.
Absolutely.
Because you say boundary waters. You're pro boundary waters, not necessarily anti-mining.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really clever.
Yeah. And one of the other things too is we leave all the other issues at the door.
Yeah.
So if there's other kind of controversial issues where, we have partners with, the Sierra Club and groups like Backcountry Hunters and Anglers and some of the more conservative hunting and angling groups that at times are really on the opposite sides of some fairly, emotional issues. Mm-hmm. We've been able, because of the level of the boundary waters, to be able to leave those arguments, where they are at the door. And so when we are in our space, in our conversations, we're all singularly focused on this one task at hand.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, so you came here as an individual, which is one proposition. Coco has a lot of individuals who are just, maybe we'll make it, maybe won't, right? Like in the same way, like you could have not pulled this off.
Yeah, exactly.
But you did manage, and then you had the question of like, all right, I'm bringing on team members, and so. Can you talk about that transition of going from just being, a guy floating around Coco to suddenly being a person and like you've got a dedicated space and you're thinking a little bit more like you have an office now that you're managing. But how does that work at a place like Coco?
Yeah, so I mean the thing that I really love about Coco and why we've worked with and been here the entire time I've been around is that community aspect. And so when I first came here, actually the first time I encountered Coco was in my previous job. One of your members hosted a meeting here, and I just kind of came down and checked it out and was like, oh my gosh, this place is amazing. And at that time I was doing shared office space with another nonprofit, which is fine for that job, but at times, just doesn't quite work out. Mm-hmm. And the idea of being in a space like this was very intriguing to me, and especially the wide variety of individuals that were there. So when I first started, it was just kind of a guy bouncing around. I came in every day and kind of got a feel for it over at the Uptown Coco, and got my desk and my dedicated space, and pretty quickly realized that this was a bigger job than just me. Part of the way we built out was we didn't have a big plan. We built at need. Mm-hmm. And as different things came up, while there was a plan in place at a framework, we were able to be nimble and hire when necessary and for the right jobs as they came up. And Coco was fantastic about being able and being flexible around that, concept. Thinking back, if I were to have signed a lease on an office space for us, for what I thought we needed in the summer of 2014, within 6 months, that was not correct. Whatever I would have gotten then, unless, either it would have been way too much space for just me at the beginning,
right,
or I would have been trying to cram a ton of people into a very small space, and then had to, do other things. And, one of my favorite things about Coco is that ability to kind of expand. And then also, at some point we will be, we're not going to be running the ship at this size, into perpetuity. That we will be, kind of scaling it back a little bit. And, Coco gives us the freedom to, when the space isn't what we need and, the budget shrinks a little bit, we can go back to one of the 10-person campsites or, smaller suites or hopefully it's not just me, but
you can upsize or downsize as you need to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the hard part with, especially with a nonprofit who's going to, I can't imagine there's one that's not going to be cost sensitive about that. And
absolutely.
So it would seem wasteful to just lock in a bunch of extra space for the future.
Yep.
Because then if you ever have to shrink, then suddenly you're sitting with that overhead for who knows how long, right?
Right, and then also, for us, all the other expenses that are just, baked into the Coco price, right? Like, I don't own any furniture. All the office furniture is provided and I don't have to ever call the internet people or the plumbers or, all the other things that I've seen and had to work with on different campaigns and different organizations that just become, the logistical side and the administrative side. Coco really allows us to do our job with that side of it as minimal hassle as I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And I think that is a huge piece that may not get promoted as much. That, once I'm here, I can focus on the task at hand.
Right.
Not, oh Christ, the bathroom's dirty again, or the cleaners didn't come, or the internet's down, you got to sit on the phone to Comcast. You guys take care of all that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would say even those pieces I never hardly even see here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, nothing's perfect, but we do have a team that tracks that stuff down pretty fast.
Absolutely.
Take care of it. Yeah. So what are if you ever talk to other executive directors, what's a common calculus about how to set up your office? And you talked about the role of the community, that there's other people outside your door that are doing crazy different things.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have that if you got your own space,
Right.
But maybe a little bit if you're sharing space with another nonprofit. But what's the calculus that an ED might go through in thinking about that? And do you have something you would say to them about how they should rethink their office?
Well, I think so. I think each nonprofit has its own culture and its own beast in its own way.
Yeah.
But if you are anyone that wants to have a young, fun staff that's energetic and feeling it, I really cannot speak more highly about an office space like this. The collaboration that happens. We've ended up partnering with I think 5 or 6 different organizations. The web team that built our website is right around the corner here in this office.
That's awesome.
And the people that do our animation videos were met at Coco, and consultants for media stuff, and just all of those. And even the non-official partnerships, and just the idea and the ability for me as an executive director to have people that I work with that don't work for me, that I can actually just hang out with and have a conversation and get their perspective in the workplace environment is a huge benefit for me. And I learned so much. And again, with the philosophy, I know my certain area and I want to hear other people's, but being able to sit down and talk to somebody who's starting up a web company, and hear what their trials and tribulations are and hurdles, and bouncing ideas off of them about what I'm going through. And even though they may not seem to fit directly together, there is always a lot of overlap, and especially when it comes to management of people and things like that, and having those people that I can talk to and socialize with without having to worry about the kind of structural dynamic of employee-boss relationships,
right,
stuff like that, which isn't, sometimes can get tricky.
Yeah, because I mean, as an
Hasn't
ED,
yet,
you need care and feeding too, right?
Exactly, right. I need somebody to hang out with.
You can't burden your staff, so you need inputs from people who can help you think about problems.
Yep.
It's always interesting to me about all the ability for different people in a place like Coco. I mean, we're talking about nonprofit, for-profit, consultants, small business owners, startup founders, even people from corporate teams who locate here. And you might think at first like, oh, they have nothing to do with each other, but really, as it turns out, it seems like we have a lot in common. Because we all have to use a lot of technology in our business, so we're all in the tech business, even if we're not technically.
Absolutely.
And we're all using a lot of similar tools these days to run organizations. A lot of that increasingly cloud and software, and and so it seems like we're, in a way, we have a lot to teach each other, maybe more than ever before.
Yes.
Because we're all, maybe regardless of what the mission is, we're on a day-to-day basis, we're trying to convince people to join us, to back us, to buy from us, to whatever, to donate.
Absolutely.
We're trying to get people to partner with us. I mean, this stuff is just universal.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's part of why I'm gratified to hear that you've worked with 6 different organizations, because that's awesome. That's really that was really the whole point of this.
Absolutely.
And that you guys can do that like anybody else here. It's just great.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too as I get out and interact with the other members and hearing those same and similar stories, and everything. And I think, I think the funniest conversations I have is when I have, board members who are, high level ranking members at 3M and General Mills and places like that, and they come and hang out here and they're just like, oh, I wish I could have your job. And I'm like, well, I wish I could have your paycheck, but I don't want your job. But yeah, it's refreshing, it's energizing, it makes me excited to come into work pretty much every day. Not every day, but it is a benefit, and something where, like I said, the alternative to me just pales in comparison to what we get here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Does it help that we're 1.5 blocks from 5 different microbreweries?
Absolutely. I mean, right? Honest to God, as soon as that camera goes off, me and Alex are going to grab a beer down at Indeed and then go to the Twins game tonight.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, no, I think that's great. And honestly, and that's another benefit. I've worked out of the place in Chicago. We originally started at the Coco Uptown, which is 2.5 blocks from my house. Unfortunately, we had to move over here because of the space constraints and stuff like that at that location. But again, the ability to work with an existing partner like Coco, and you guys saw the need that we had and provided the solution for us, and have always been very helpful and creative, and even really worked with us in some kind of non-traditional ways as far as our space goes. And I think we have different needs than a lot of your other clients because of just the business that we're in and the amount of stuff that we have. It's very interesting and been very, very helpful. And I've never heard a no from Coco. I've heard a, well, let's think about it and let's talk, but it's never no, we're not going to do that. It's yes, but can we, let's, think through how we can partner on this thing together.
A little bit of horse trading going on.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, yeah. Which you have to do, right?
No, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself, the organization going in the next year?
In the next year, we're going to be humming along. Like I said, we're going for wins here with this administration. We're in the middle of a large public comment period right now with the U.S. Forest Service around the watershed issue related to mining. So encourage people to go to savetheboundarywaters.org and sign our petition and have your voices heard for the cause. But also, that means for us, we're going to be out in the community, doing events and raising money and raising awareness around this issue. Because one of the things that we find too, going back to the polling thing, not only have 67% of Minnesotans been to the Boundary Waters, when they find out that this is an issue and that the Boundary Waters is potentially threatened by this very toxic industry, they are with us, at staggering numbers. So it's a very fun campaign because, again, part of it is just literally promoting the Boundary Waters.
Yeah.
And also making it a national issue.
Yeah.
Because our end goal is to make this wilderness area, on the level of Yellowstone and the Grand Canyon. And when people think about this, that's really the goal that I've got is, and one of the most fun pieces of my job is just getting out there and talking about how great Minnesota is, how great the communities are, and this wilderness area we've got is, really the crown jewel of that. So I see us being, pretty much fairly similar to where we are. I think we'll probably grow a little bit more. We kind of ebb and flow. Summertime is always busy for us because we try to get out to all the community events.
Yeah.
So every block party and art fair and all that kind of stuff here in the Twin Cities and around the entire state. So that just means a lot more volunteers and interns and staffers.
Yeah.
So
here's a specific question. Are you able to, when you have volunteers, and let's say you guys are about to do you do mailings?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I was like, I figured most nonprofits do.
Yep.
I didn't know if you were an exception. But are you able to bring volunteers here?
Oh yeah.
Go and assemble things? Okay.
Yeah. So Chris, our kind of main organizer here, has Monday night volunteer nights here in the office, and so it works honestly better than any other space I've used. They can spread out. A lot of times, sometimes they're stuffing mailers, doing that kind of stuff. A lot of times they're making phone calls to supporters and asking them to call, their elected officials or whatever happens to be going on. But being able to utilize the space and have access to desks and able to move around and spread out. And
so you can really flex beyond. I mean, you need a certain amount of room here to house your staff, but you need more if you're going to bring in like 20 volunteers.
Oh, absolutely.
Project,
yeah. And working with Emma and Carolyn here and Karina and everybody, it's been an amazing. They always are helpful and willing to work with us and make sure that we're here, and we try to make sure we've got enough of our actual Coco members here, so we're not going past the limits when we got non-members after hours. But yeah, it's been great, and honestly, the kitchen is great. Just all the amenities, just yeah.
Oh, great to hear.
So,
did you ever imagine that you would be at this point with this organization when it was just you?
No, I mean, I had ideas of what we would want to look like and how we would go about. Taking advantage of the different opportunities, but if you would have told me at that point, that we, last year we raised $1.5 million, for this effort and this campaign because of the hard work of my staff and the wins that we've been able to get and those amazing supporters we have out there. That's more than I ever expected us to be able to do, and it's allowed us to really, and that's what allows us to move forward and look at this new administration as a challenge that can be overcome, as opposed to something to kind of, like I said, hold the line on.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I am happy and elated to be where we are, but I don't think in my wildest dreams, if you would have asked me when it was just me sitting there in Uptown, meeting you guys for the first time, that we would be in I think it's the biggest suite that you guys offer, right? 14 person, or is there a bigger one somewhere else?
There might be a bigger one.
Okay.
Now we'll have to build one for you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so no, I don't think I would have ever pictured this, but that's the beauty of, the iterative process, of startups and nonprofits that are agile and small is, we try different things, and if they don't work, we learn and pivot and move forward. And, this space has allowed us to really do that with ease and again, without having to spend time working on kind of what I would consider like the mundane administrative side of things.
Yeah, managing an office. We've had people come to us after leaving Coco and getting a lease, and are like, why didn't you tell us it would be so terrible?
I mean, even negotiating a lease to me just sounds like the most.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm looking at when I'm doing that.
And it takes time off of your main focus. That's really the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's saying like,
absolutely.
I can do this because I'm a smart person, but do I want to be spending this time? And there's some risk involved if you, unless you lawyer up and pay someone. But so there's pros and cons, but I find that a lot of people who are really focused on growing their thing really despise the distractions.
Oh, absolutely. I know it's my personality type. So even everyone gets paid on time, but there's been, for my team, but it's definitely my least favorite piece of it is all of the HR stuff that I still, unfortunately, you do not offer a payroll service or an HR.
Not yet anyways.
Right, exactly. So next year at Coco.
Yeah, there you go. 2018. Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for talking to us. And
absolutely.
Congratulations on all your success. It's great to be able to kind of hold you up as an example of how it's done well.
Thank you.
You know?
Yeah.
So to the extent that we've been able to support that, it's really gratifying. So
Absolutely.
thanks, Doug.
Well, thank you very much, Don.